Hey, so do you have a computer that is full of digital clutter? I'm gonna guess that I am not the only one in this situation. So today we're gonna look at some simple tasks that you can do for a digital declutter of your computer. For me, it's specifically my iMac and my MacBook Pro. So let's go ahead and jump in. If we haven't met before, my name is Michele and I am a certified online business manager, and I kindly kick digital CEOs out of the back office so they can focus on more sales, more revenue, and my very favorite, more impact. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I like to be a digital hoarder, I guess you could say. If I run across something, I like to keep that file and put it in so in case I would want to reference it in the future. I think, I've talked about it before with Notion that I'm using that. It was last fall that I started to actually get in there and start putting things into my Notion database so that anything that I want is in there. So links or things that I find beneficial. So that's been a big game changer. But the thing is, I used to keep all kinds of things on my computer and in different folders. So, I could still search for things, but I like to keep everything in one central location if I'm using it for inspiration or for a swipe file type of information. But with that, then my computer has become overwhelmed with different files. And I'll be honest, it's not been a high priority to actually go through and clean those things up until now, because it's ridiculous the amount of files that I have on my computer, and it's time to get it organized and cleaned up. So the first place that I'm going to start, and this is one simple task for you, is with your downloads folder. So everything when you comes into your computer is in your downloads folder. And even if you move that from the downloads folder into a permanent location, it stays in the downloads folder. So you need to clean that up and get rid of all those files, because more than likely it's all duplicate files in there. So one of the things I do have set up in my Chrome browser is to make sure to ask me where I want to save that file when I download it. But that's not the case with everything. There's different applications that you use where it will just put it in the downloads folder automatically, and you're not able to make a change to it. So you moved it out of that downloads folder and you put it in the place that it belongs. But now it still sits in the downloads folder because you didn't delete it. Okay, so now go through your downloads folder and delete everything. Okay, did you pause the video and do that? I sure hope so. If not, bookmark this for later and come back. Okay, so the next place that I'm going to hit and declutter is my desktop, because I screenshot so many things. When I'm creating an SOP, if I wanted to have an image, I'm going to screenshot it. And it's more than likely living in a document in an SOP already, because that is a majority of everything that I screenshot and it ends up in my desktop. I'm going to go through and clean all of those out, and I'm going to completely delete them all, because I know that they're in there, and if I need to come back, more than likely I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to go, oh, I wonder if that's in my desktop. Did I do that before? Heck no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start over again. So go ahead. I give you permission now. Just wipe out all of those screenshots on your desktop and be done with them. Okay, and this is another one. Applications. Do you download different applications onto your computer and then they were great at the time that you did it, but now you're not finding yourself using it at all? It's time to go ahead and go into your applications that are on your computer, move them around, like sort by or look at them by the date that they were added, and see if you're actually using those. So one of the things is we can get blind to the clutter that's on our computer and we don't see it day to day. But if you move it around, then you may be able to see it a little bit better and know whether or not you're actually using that or not using it. And if you're not using it, get rid of it. What is the point of having it on your computer? Okay, here is another simple task for you. And this one I think is a big one too, is your browser. I'm a digital COO. I use my browser for everything, for my business, for my clients' businesses. That browser is key. I have multiple different browsers that I have set up depending on who I'm working on and the client that I'm working on. And I have a tendency to have all kinds of folders and files on there in my shortcut bar that I might not necessarily need to have anymore. So if that's you too, go through and clean those things up. Get rid of files that you're not using or you haven't looked at it, or browsers things, or websites that you haven't gone to for some time. Just clear it out, because if you're going to find it again, more than likely you'll bookmark it again. So just keep those things that you actually are using and get rid of everything else. Now this one is, for me, is huge because I didn't realize how many things I had shortcutted in my browser because I put them in files and it was just carried away. And I really, anytime I added something, I moved it to the top. And then if I was using something, those were moved to the top. So anything below the ones that I know that I'm actually using, I deleted. I got rid of them. Okay, now staying on the browser, another thing, and I've talked about this in one of the previous videos that I did as well with this decluttering series, is your browser applications. So we have a tendency, I know for me personally, okay, I won't put you in the same bucket as me, but maybe you might be, is we have a tendency to put things or add browser applications to make life easier when we're using our Chrome browsers or whatever browser it is that you use. We put those different applications to make it easy, but then maybe we found that we're not using it anymore. So it's unpinned, but it's still sitting in our applications. Go ahead and remove those. If it's not pinned in there and you're not using it, go ahead and just remove it, delete it, get rid of it. So it's not in there. We need to have clear spaces so that we don't gunk up our mind with all of that clutter that we don't necessarily, that we become blind to and don't necessarily see, but yet it's still doing something with our brains when we have all of that information out there. Now, one of the other simple tasks that you can do is your Finder. Do you need to, this is on my Mac specifically because I live in my Finder. Like everything I do is from my Finder. And I have all of my different drives that sync so that I can have all of my, everything for me is stored in the cloud. I have it on my computer, but essentially it's all in my Google Drive. I have a personal Google Drive, and then I also have my business G Suite that I use. And everything is in my Finder window, but I have a tendency to have other different folders that I accumulate. Make sure the things that you're using all the time are in that Finder and are right there, easy and effortless, so you can easily and effortlessly, yeah, words are hard, find that browser. So go ahead into your Finder and reorganize everything. Okay, I have three more things, promise, just three more things that I want you to look at. Your photos, go through and clean up those photos. It's so easy to take multiple pictures and then not ever clean up the ones that are bad or things that you don't need anymore. Like, get rid of them. Just clean them up, consolidate them. Just pick the ones that are your favorites. Virus. If you have a virus scan, this would be a really great time to go through and scan your computer. And for me, I'm also doing a clean my Mac. So go through and clean up your Mac and let that run. So you may like it, you may not like it, whatever, but just go through and do a little of that cleanup so that your Mac can run just a little bit better than it did before. Okay, so this was my simple task for that digital clutter that you have on your computer or your MacBook. I hope this was helpful. Go ahead and leave me any comments that you have. If you want to, save it for later. But if you're not going to actually look at it again, then don't save it. So put it in a place that you actually know you're going to use it. Better yet, like add it to your task list so that you know that you'll actually complete the action. And then from your task list, make sure you put it on your calendar and block out time. And it's going to take some time, so you may want to do it in chunks. I'm not going to suggest that you sit down for 10 hours a day and do it, because I know for sure I wouldn't, but I do things in little chunks of time. So I can schedule an hour here, an hour there, and just go through and clean those things up. That's why it's nice to have these simple tasks. So, hey, I'm going to spend an hour cleaning out my downloads folder. And if it doesn't take you an hour, great. If it takes you longer than an hour, schedule another hour. So make sure you're just actually getting that time on your calendar, because for me, if it's not associated like with a time block on my calendar, I don't necessarily do it. And the worst thing is, if I don't actually schedule that time on my calendar, then what I have a tendency to do is to underestimate the amount of time that I spend on something. So I'll get carried away, and then I would spend probably 10 hours cleaning things up on my computer when I don't have 10 hours maybe to give in a general day. So it's nice to create the action and then put that action on your calendar with a time block and a set amount of time to actually complete it. Okay, so that was just off on a little bit of a different note, but I hope that was beneficial to you as well. I, again, thank you for taking the time to watch this. Go ahead and let me know if you have any questions. You can leave a comment, and I'm happy to answer that for you. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you.